Weekly Quest. This week we're going to talk a little bit about David. You know, if David was alive today, we'd probably label him as an external processor. We can read throughout the Psalms how David would express his innermost feelings and thoughts and his emotions, sometimes with frustration. And in Psalm 10, he asks this question of God. He asks, "Why, O Lord, do you stand far off? And why do you hide yourself in times of trouble?" Now, obviously, David was frustrated because it seemed that the wicked were getting away with murder and they were facing no consequences. Did God even care? You know, the funny thing is, God asks a similar question about himself, and it's recorded in Jeremiah. God asked, "Am I only a God nearby and not a God far away? Can anyone hide in secret places so that I can't see him?" So I guess this is what we need to contend with. Is it more important that we see God or that God sees us? When our daughter was an infant, I took her to a new pediatrician, and the doctor did something very unusual in our first appointment. My daughter and I were in the little examining room, and the doctor knocked on the door, and he came in. He closed the door, but he stayed by the door and began to talk to our daughter. And I thought that was really unusual because I'm thinking, just come closer so you can see her, so you kind of, you're not standing so far away. And I realized later on that what the doctor did really was brilliant, because as he talked to her, he was watching to see first if she could hear the sound of his voice, if she could turn her little neck in the direction of the sound, and even if her eyes were beginning to focus. I think God does the same thing to us. If he seems distant, if he seems far away, it doesn't mean that he's left us. I think God watches from a distance to see how we will respond in a chaotic world. Are we hopeless or are we hopeful? Are we oppressed or are we optimistic? Are we fearful or are we faithful? I think it's time that the church rise and show how God's people respond when things are out of control, when it seems the wicked are getting away with so much. I think it's time that we rise and show how God's people show a certain amount of bravery and power and courage in the world. The world is watching. So is God. Let's not disappoint either one.